Hello, and welcome to the English with Colin Podcast, a podcast for English language learners. My name's Colin, I'm an English teacher in Tokyo, and if you're looking to improve your English skills and gain more confidence in your ability to communicate in English, you've come to the right place. In these episodes, I'll provide you with short conversations in English that cover a range of topics, from everyday situations to more specialised subjects. These conversations are designed to help you practice your listening skills and pick up new vocabulary and grammar along the way. Regular listening practice is key to improving your English, and I hope this podcast will become a valuable resource for you on your language learning journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. And remember, the more you listen, the more you'll learn. This is episode 38, and today's topic is sushi secrets. What you need to know before visiting a traditional sushi restaurant. Hello, Sue.
Hey.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well. Sushi. Did you eat much sushi before you came to Japan?
I did.
Oh, really?
Yes, it became quite popular in Mexico. We have a place called Sushi Ito. I don't know how good it is now, but it was the place to go. And it was quite good, but maybe in Japan they wouldn't consider that sushi. It was very much a Mexican version.
Ah, okay. So what was different?
Well, avocado and mayo sauces and
Chili?
Chili.
Right.
Loads of chili.
Yeah.
Like nice.
Nice, but not traditional.
No, rolls. Like
Ah,
more California roll.
right.
kind
So
of
that's
style.
kind of the rice on the outside,
Uh-huh.
that kind of thing. Okay. Again, something you don't see very much in Japan.
No.
Okay. So what I want to talk about today is the kind of do's and don'ts or what to expect when going to a traditional sushi restaurant.
Mm.
In the next episode, we'll talk about the conveyor belt sushi, but today it's the more traditional places. So let's start with just booking a reservation.
Yes, the more traditional places, it's either sushi or any other food in Japan. If it's traditional, it might be small.
That's true. Yeah, they may just have 8 seats, 10 seats.
Something like that. And they're traditional because of that, because it's kind of very involved by the chefs, by the owners.
Yeah.
So, yeah, reservation is always a good idea.
And it could be weeks, months in advance. You might need to book if it's a very popular place.
Absolutely.
And some of these very high-end traditional restaurants, the ones that have Michelin stars, it's months. It's months. And they also probably don't have a website for you to book through. You probably need to call to make a reservation or come in person to make the reservation. So if Japanese is not your first language, then maybe you can get your hotel to book a place for you, or your travel agent, who knows. So yeah, reservation is the first step. If you get your reservation, make sure you arrive on time. Timing is a big part of this type of cuisine, for things to be prepared fresh. So yeah, make sure you're on time so everything can go smoothly.
Also, I think, I'm not sure, but many places, they give you they give you a certain time. Like you will be there for 2 hours, and that's about it.
Yeah, and they want you out after 2 hours, you not a minute longer.
No, because there's another customer that's going to come in.
Indeed. So we mentioned the small location, maybe just 8-10 seats, something like that. The seats the best seats in these kind of restaurants are the counter seats, where you're right there and you can see the chef working.
Yes.
There are sometimes table seats, that are away from the counter, but the best seats are the ones that are at the counter, so you can actually receive the food immediately from the chef, and also you can see the skill.
The skill, yeah.
That they have as well. So that's something to think about. Now, in terms of what to order when you go to these kind of fancy sushi restaurants, it's often the recommendation of the chef.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than having a menu and you choosing what you want to order, you'll actually go with what the chef thinks is the best ingredients of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And this in Japanese would be called the omakase menu, if you like. And I think this is the best way to go, because you don't know what's fresh and you don't know what works well together.
Also, when the chef is doing this, they know what to give you in what order. So they'll start with the softer flavors, and then they'll go to the more fatty flavors and the strongest flavors.
Yeah.
So it is a kind of an experience.
Yeah, so you might start with something light, like a sort of sea bream or something, and then work towards the eel. The eel sometimes has like soy, like a soy sauce on it.
Sardine is also
Sardines, yeah.
Yeah.
Or what's the other one? Sea urchin.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another very strong flavor. So yeah, you want to start with the softer flavors and then work towards the stronger flavors. And yeah, the chef is going to take care of that for you. So yeah, very often these places you don't kind of order a la carte.
No, I think maybe the regular customers might at one point if they have a good relationship with the chef.
Right.
But not yourself just coming in once.
fresh off the boat. No. Now, how to eat. Now, going to a sushi restaurant, we all know that you get your little soy sauce plate, pour a little soy sauce there, maybe put a little bit of wasabi in your soy sauce, and then you get your sushi and you dip it in your little soy sauce wasabi plate. You don't do that at the fancy places, at the fancy traditional sushi restaurants.
No, the mixing of the wasabi with the soy sauce in the same plate, that's a no.
That's a no, yeah.
But I think even going a little bit further, kind of having a little plate with soy to dip your fish in it. I think if it's a fancy restaurant where the chef has been kind of preparing all the cuts, they've already seasoned them.
Yeah.
So many times I've heard chefs saying like, no sauce.
Yeah, no, we've had that before, where they say to you, it's already seasoned.
Yeah.
You don't need to add anything. Don't go dipping it in anything.
Like, don't ruin my hard work.
Yeah, don't ruin it. So that's true of soy sauce and also wasabi. The chef will have put on an appropriate amount of wasabi. So yeah, there's no kind of no work for you. You just need to take what you're given
and enjoy
it. And also after each piece, you might take a little bit of ginger.
Yes.
To kind of clean your clean your palate, your, kind of freshen your taste buds a little bit. What about the pace of eating?
I think that is very much decided by the chef as well, because you will have a plate and the chef will put the pieces on your plate. And the idea is that as he's giving these pieces, you eat them.
Right, one at a time.
One at a time. There's no big plate. There's no waiting for 3 or 4 pieces. Is once it's in your plate, it's ready to eat.
Yeah. And the chef will give, especially if you're sitting at the counter, the chef will give you the piece directly.
Yes.
They sometimes have a special kind of display. It might be wood or it might be some kind of pottery. And they actually display the sushi there. So you take a moment to look at it and say, oh, look at that.
Delicious.
Delicious. And then you try it. But yeah, you kind of go with the pace. Don't sit and chat. If the chef has put something in front of you, eat it, because he'll be waiting to see how you react.
Yes, no, it is like a dance. It's like a conversation with the chef in terms of how you're eating it, how you're reacting, the pace. It's both ways.
I guess he might look at your reaction and say, okay, right, that was popular, that was enjoyed, so maybe more of this or whatever. So your reaction might influence what he decides to give you later on. Another thing which I think is kind of important is when you're eating, you should eat in one bite.
Yes.
So rather than kind of take we're talking about the nigiri sushi, the kind of classic sushi with the rice and the fish on top. The rice is the shari and the fish on top is called the neta. So this is the type of sushi that we're talking about here. But you would try to eat that in one bite. So you don't kind of bite half of it and then put the other half back on your plate. If you do that, it's probably going to fall apart.
It's a mess.
Because when the chef is preparing the sushi, he is kind of packing the rice tightly together. And as soon as you kind of break that, it can fall apart, especially if you've dipped it in soy sauce. The soy sauce the rice is going to fall apart. So yeah, kind of eat your sushi in one bite is an important element. What about hands versus chopsticks? Where do you stand on this?
I usually use my chopsticks, but yeah, the hands are okay. Yeah, you can just grab your and it's very much acceptable.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because initially I thought that you had to use chopsticks, and people do, but it's actually perfectly acceptable to use your hands. It's much easier to use your hands, especially if you want to dip the fish into soy sauce, because you can turn the sushi over very easily and still hold it together. So yeah, that's okay. Just make sure your hands are clean.
Yes.
That's the only rule. So yeah, those are kind of the big points, I think.
If you want to actually use some soy sauce, I think also the idea is that you put a little bit on one end, that you dip the fish part of one end.
Also not the whole.
Not the whole thing. It's just a little bit on one end, just to get a little bit more sauce, and that should do for the rest of the piece.
Yeah. So you're not trying to submerge. You're not trying to put the whole thing. No. Dunk it like you're putting an Oreo in some milk. It's not that kind of
no
movement. That's true. Yeah. So less is more.
Less is more.
Less is more. So yeah, these are usually quite quiet places as well. A little bit more sophisticated, so conversations usually a little quieter. Maybe gets a bit more noisy late in the evening, but and in terms of payment, the traditional places may not accept credit cards.
Yes, so be sure to check if it take credit or if it's just cash.
Yeah.
Because yes, we've been not only sushi restaurants, but some traditional and specialized places. It's only a reservation and it's only cash.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of surprising because these aren't cheap meals.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there's this thing about just using cash. Some places in Japan have been very slow to change to accepting credit cards. I think the pandemic made that faster because we had a lot of digital payment systems became more popular. PayPay, for example, or Line Pay, or those kind of things that are popular in Japan. But as you said, check. You should be able to find out easily enough. Is it cash or can you pay by credit card? So yeah. So I quite fancy going for some sushi now after talking about this. But yeah, those are some things to remember for your visit to a traditional sushi restaurant in Japan. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the English with Colin podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to the conversation and found it helpful in your language learning journey. Remember, the key to mastering a language is regular practice. So make sure you listen to our podcast regularly and keep honing your listening skills. We appreciate your support and feedback. So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future topics, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to joining you again next time for another conversation in English. Until then, keep practicing and take care.